Welcome in to season 2 of Clips and Dip, episode 10. I'm Adam Oslin. We got Chuck Mockler with us. No Will Updike for this one. Nobody from Philly's side who we're trying to get on to talk about the James Harden
I blame
situation.
Twitter for that, honestly. That's
Blame it on X.
fault.
We'll still talk about it and get into a heated Shannon Sharp, now Stephen A. Smith debate. Skip. Stephen A. Skip. Okay, he can't get it right. Coming up later in the show, also, we'll talk about our new Kawhi Leonard picture that is out there, and we will overanalyze that. Right also, the games that'll be on KTLA this season. So a little more schedule talk. But first, Chuck, I know there was a tweet out there regarding Terance Mann and just how good he was from beyond the arc last season in areas I think people didn't expect him to thrive in.
Yeah, so this tweet from NBA University, I believe. It's a blue check account, but they put out yeah, that's the U. They put out some solid content. The tweet was, Terance Mann shot 44.2% on non-corner threes this season. He also shot 72.2% at the rim while creating an impressive 2.5 unassisted rim field goal per 75 field goal attempts. A stellar blend of balance, shot-making, creativity, and efficiency. Easy to imagine him scaling to new heights with increased opportunity. And that second part of the tweet, is where I want a discussion, is the story of Terance Mann's Clippers career. Of the past 2 seasons, I think, maybe 2.5 seasons. We're going to talk about how good he is off court for the Clippers, but his per 36 numbers are effectively the same the last 3 seasons. In 2020 to 21, 13.5 points, 6.9 rebounds, 3 assists on 51% from the floor, 42% from 3, 83% from the stripe. So pretty solid to go along with his versatile defense and all that good stuff. 21-22, his per 36, 13.5 points, 6.6 rebounds, 3.2 assists on 48%, 36% from 3, 73% from the line. Last year, 13.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 52, 39, 78 shooting splits. Offensively, I'm pretty sure this is the ceiling for Terance on this team, which I think is a bad thing based on the last 3 years of sample size.
It's just strange how much he's been undervalued when he's now 27 years of age. Yes, he's coming into just his 5th season. His first ties in with the 2-1-3 connection coming to the Clippers. So it's kind of easy to follow along in that way. But I saw this tweet from our friend Justin at LA Clippers Film saying that Terance Mann played 5 minutes in game 1 of last season against the Lakers. In games 36 and 37 against Boston and Indiana, he played a total of 13 minutes. And he also put in there, he's been overvalued maybe by Clippers fans, but he's been actively engaged, or the team is actively engaged in self-sabotage with Terance Mann. Justin's opinion on that. But
I might agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, it's strange because I would have thought a player like him, because as you put out the numbers there, the per 36 stuff, it's all pretty consistent. He's a 38% career 3-point shooter now.
Yeah, I will say the per 36, not like an end all be all. I'm not, for those listening, I'm not trying to make that seem like the perfect embodiment of what a player is. Just the consistency of what it's been the last 3 years was what was so striking.
But the common denominator is he's a plus when he's on the court. He adds and really solidifies what makes this team good, which is their versatility. Nobody really underscores that more than Terance Mann with how many positions he's been asked to play. I just would have thought that the Clippers and any team really in the NBA would use a guy like this to say it's more than just the numbers. He's unstatable, like Doc Rivers used to say about Avery Bradley. He's that type of player that just makes winning plays like Patrick Beverley. You can't account for everything in the box score when it comes to Terance Mann. You really have to dig deep with him or just eyeball test. because how many times have we seen him jumpstart a run from this team when he comes in the third quarter, where they look down and lethargic? And so many of those 20-point comebacks over the last 3-4 seasons now have been started through Terance Mann and his energy and just the infectious play that he has out there. And I just don't see many negatives with him. He may not have the highest
slow start
ceiling.
Last year with the shooting. It was kind of ugly to start the year.
Okay, that's fair.
But he did shoot his way out of it.
And he also played 5 minutes in game 1. And
yeah.
So a slow start in the amount of minutes he was given.
Yeah.
I believe there were some DNPs in there, games where he only played a half in. And I've seen this point made quite often from Clipper Nation. But there's something to having him start in just how many minutes then you're afforded per game. Because if you're not getting in till, the 8-minute mark of the first quarter or later, then that's pretty much going to be your only stint of the first half. You may play 10 minutes, but then you're out with 6 minutes left or 5 minutes left in the second quarter, and that's all you get. And then the same thing happens in the second half, and that's how he ends up playing what I think it averaged out to about 22, 23 minutes per game last season. And that included a stretch where he did start, and the minutes were up right before they brought in Russell Westbrook before the All-Star break. Much has been made of that. I think the 10-4 record is a little bit inflated when you look into the details of how some of those games went and how many times they almost blew the end-of-game situations. That's not what I normally hear from Clipper Nation when it's the other way around. If it's somebody like Russell Westbrook, it's like, yeah, but look at the way they threw the ball away at the end, or Paul George, they were a mess. But when Terance Mann was on the court for some of that stuff against Atlanta, against Chicago, against New York, where they almost lost all these games and tried to give them away, everybody just says, well, just look at the record, though. That's all that matters.
And Law did point out, too, that coincided when Kawhi and PG were playing like the normal minutes they should be playing. Yeah.
And Russell Westbrook in that 0-5 start where they brought him in coincided with Ivica Zubac missing a bunch of games. And we know how important he is to them defensively and how the rating falls off a cliff when he's not out there on the court.
And whenever you add a guy, there's going to be growing pains. But back to the Terance Mann stuff. Why is he not? What needs to happen? So it seems like there's the common thread too is his offense needs to get trusted more. Ty Lue needs to maybe trust the offense more. But other than shooting,
and maybe Kawhi and Paul George as well.
Yeah, but other than shooting 50% on threes and this great stuff at the rim, what can he do? I'll tell you what, it's not keep the ball in his hands and make something happen, because that's not how he's going to show his offense.
That's why it's
I don't think. Unless they'd maybe do, I don't know.
That's why it's so bizarre to me. I would think a team would appreciate him more than the fans do, based upon all the little things that he does. But it's actually the other way around in this case.
I think it's
where it feels like you need Terance Mann to get a 30 spot once every 2 weeks to keep him on the floor more, just so the team realizes how valuable he is, when it shouldn't be so much about his scoring. I don't know why that would affect his minutes when he does all the little things the right way. As you mentioned, Nicholas Batum gets that treatment. He's a vet. He's proven much more, obviously, than Terance Mann.
Totally.
But you got to give him opportunities to do these things. And coming off what happened in the 2021 playoff run, where he was closing out games with the Clippers ahead of Rajon Rondo, I would have thought, okay, moving forward, it's Terance Mann's spot to lose playing 28, 30 minutes a night.
Sure.
He's locked in for that the rest of the way. He's matured. He's shown his worth and how valuable he can be to this team in crucial crunch time situations when you need him to play well and play above his maturity level or age. And he did so. I would have thought that would have made the minutes more concrete, made him have a more solidified role, where we heard Coach Lue earlier in the season say he didn't know what his role was. Now, maybe he was just annoyed with the media at the time and being pestered with questions, and he didn't feel like answering that, as you see from coaches from time to time. But it's just a really perplexing, baffling situation why they continue to go away from a guy who seems to work and fit in with this team really well in so many different ways, and is that valuable because you can use him in so many ways. So find minutes for him with a team that's this injury prone and a guy that's that multiple.
Rocco wasn't getting them.
Yeah. But the only way I see it happening really is with him starting, I think. And for that to happen,
a lot of other things have to happen, I think.
Yeah.
Right? It's weird. And I keep thinking about what Law said when he was on the show, where there was that stretch where Terance played like the 5 in one game, and then he like started at the 2 a couple games after that, and then he came in and played some point close to that too, where it is this embarrassment of utility with him, where he's so like, sure, put me in here, I'll do whatever I want, but that's not an actual role.
And it seems to work wide. It works against him.
Yeah.
With the coaching staff not knowing how to use him, even though he's available to play all these different positions and fill in the cracks here and there. That's what makes it just a bit of a head scratcher. Now, that could change this season. Perhaps the front office values him more than the coaching staff has.
They didn't throw him in to try and make the Harden trade happen any sooner. So,
or with Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to play him, then he probably should be used to get James Harden. If you're not getting James Harden, then he probably should be used on the court for the Clippers.
You should play him, yeah. Seems like an easy problem to fix.
I don't understand it. Now, you can say going into last season, there were more unknowns at the guard position with Luke Kennard, with John Wall, with Reggie Jackson.
God, that feels like it was like 5 years ago, but yes.
So a little more clarity coming into this season could lend itself well to knowing where to put Terance Mann or where to find minutes for him, because if he's not playing the small forward, he can get in at the 1 or the 2 at times. So maybe he carves out more of a role. There's a little bit more of a defined role for him just because of that. But Russell Westbrook's going to play 30, 35 minutes a night, you would expect. If they do bring in James Harden and don't have to give up Terance Mann, he's going to play 30 to 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a short roster.
In that scenario, could Mann at least be leading the bench or be with Russell Westbrook and the bench unit and playing heavier minutes? And look, we'll talk about the schedule and some of the games that land on TV locally here in a bit. But this schedule this season for the Clippers would be difficult if you had Kawhi and Paul George playing 82 games. We already know it's built in. They're not going to.
Yeah.
So how do you win games? You got to build continuity outside of your most optimal lineups, meaning with Kawhi and Paul George. You have to find rotations and guys that can be leaders on those nights when your 2 stars or one of your 2 stars are out, and really figure that out early in the year. I hope that's something they're able to do, and I hope Terance Mann is a part of it.
Terance played 23 and a half minutes per game basically last year. Do you think it's going to be more or less than 26 minutes per game for Terance? He played 28 minutes per game the year before. Obviously, that was extenuating circumstances. Do you think he can get to 26? I know 3 minutes doesn't sound like that much, but apparently it is for Terance Mann.
I'm going to say less. I hope I'm wrong.
More than 23 and a half, or right around there?
Yeah, it'll be similar, I think.
And he's already so efficient. I'm like, what do we... I guess if he shoots 80%, that'd be a nice improvement. But
he supplies something they are in desperate need of. Getting to the hoop, getting downhill. You brought up him shooting over 70% at the rim, top 3 in the NBA. And it's not some fluky stat, because you look at the other 2 guys, one of them is Steph Curry. So
yeah,
it's like, if he can be a 3, a D, and a rim
twos
attacker, rim pressuring type of guy, I don't know how you don't get him in the game more to just offer a lot of what the Clippers are missing at times, easy baskets.
But now that he's fully out, people can stop. Hopefully they'll stop putting him in the young Clippers contingent, because he is 27. So yeah, I mean, maybe this is his year. Maybe everything snaps into place for Terance the way it needs to snap in for the coaching staff, if that makes sense. I think he's a very good obviously we all Clippers fans think he's a very good professional basketball player in the NBA. Seems like the Clippers, but he needs to adjust the approach, I guess, for how this team wants to play. Which he is malleable. He's willing to make all these changes. He does everything the team asks. I just hope it happens soon, like you said, for the continuity.
He can be a real ceiling raiser for them. Like, you look at what happened in the 2021 playoffs and how well Reggie Jackson played as a playmaker and a scorer late in games. If Terance Mann could do some of that, just like 70% of what they got from Reggie Jackson.
Plus the other end of the ball too, where he's a lot better.
Exactly. And you have Russell Westbrook. So that role isn't maybe as needed as it was at that time, especially when Kawhi Leonard went out. But if he could just improve in those areas a little bit with more consistency, I think the coaching staff would, let the reins off and let him play more and let him play his game and just let him play with that feel and instinctual game, because he embodies a lot of the spirit that I think this Clippers organization wants from their players, with being a tough-minded competitor that plays with a lot of will and force. And that's how they've had the comebacks, as I mentioned earlier. Yep. Terance Mann has been integral in a lot of those. So I don't think you can have enough players like that. It's wild that they haven't seemed to value him as much, but as you said, it could all come together this season. And that happens sometimes with guys, even later in their careers. 27 is still early prime for a guy like Terance Mann.
And I'm trying, let me look at his contract. It's a contract year.
It's
for him?
This year and next year.
And then next year. Yeah. So he's got this year, then next year. And then he's unrestricted. So getting to that UFA when you're 29, nice timeline for contract and payday wise. I hope we can give him a shot to get what he deserves, because it could be a nice payday.
And I want to see him as a lifelong Clipper. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But the other benefit to playing him is to showcase his skills, to raise his value. So if you do need to use him in a trade to make something happen, the other team finds him as a big asset.
Knows it. They're like, oh, yeah, this guy, he killed us every time. So the answer for Terance Mann is just play him more. I also want to talk about how great, and this is kind of a way that I think sometimes I work, my regular day job is in marketing. And so when some players are very marketable players, some players are not marketable players. Terance Mann off the court is one of the best guys for the Clippers. He's at every single giveaway that they do. He does free player clinics in Downey, unlike Austin Reeves, who charges $300 to $500 for his player clinics. Shout out to Clipper Vlad for finding that. Just saying.
He had the black eye game against Portland.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, man, where he's also just such a good person. And I know that NBA front offices usually don't take that into account one way or the other when they're offering people contracts. But I think for the Clippers that really do a lot to try and build their name in the community, you've got the court stuff, you've got, bringing local businesses from Inglewood into the Intuit Dome and all these things. Like, this is a guy who loves doing that stuff. Not that other guys are against it, but this is a player who loves representing the team in a charitable way because he's a charitable person. That's someone that should stay with the team. It's good for team from a marketing perspective. If you're in that department, he's great for marketing. He's great for PR, and he's a homegrown guy. Like, it's going to hurt if Terance Mann is not a Clipper after the 25 season.
Yeah, and I remember when they brought him in, one of the things that Lawrence Frank stressed with him and other players as they were doing talent evaluations is high character and somebody who's self-driven and motivated and has that motor, because he's great with the community. He has the pedigree within his family and that situation where he's been around basketball his entire life, handled himself like a professional from day one, was doing that at Florida State. But he feels like the type of player that can be a star role player on a championship contender and a championship winner. Like, if they went on to win a championship and Terance Mann was a big part of it, a glue guy, a connector, Nobody would be surprised by that whatsoever.
Not at all. If they had to think, if things go the way that we all want them to, and there was the think piece of, was Terance Mann the third best player during the Clippers run? Everyone who was an actual Clippers fan would be like, yeah, he absolutely was. I also
said it about Batum at times. Who's the
Yeah.
third most important player?
Right, exactly. I also forgot that Terance got the key to his hometown. He's got the key to Lowell, Mass.
Oh, right on.
Key to the city, which when I was young, actually thought they gave you a key that you could just go into any door in the city. I thought that's what it was.
Dad, who's coming for dinner tonight? We don't know. They got the key, though.
They got the key to the city. Anything else we want to say about Terance Mann? We haven't talked about him in a while. It's been a slow offseason, so I was happy that we got a chance to talk about it.
Just love the way he plays and conducts himself all the time. He is easily a fan favorite, one of the most likable players. His 39 to break the curse or whatever of not getting past the second round.
You don't believe in
game
curses,
6,
though, correct?
I don't. It's stupid. And it's insulting to players who put in the work.
Well,
but especially somebody like Terance Mann, who definitely continues to improve, but already has a skill set that translates, I think, to what you're looking to build in a championship team.
Yeah, very fair. We hope we get more Terance Mann. Let us know what you think over at Clippers Pod on Twitter. We are also on YouTube at Clippers Podcast on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, yep, you're not going crazy. The border appeared about halfway through that last segment. I forgot to put it up. This is what happens when Will Updike is not here.
I'm sorry, you work in marketing? What?
Yeah, marketing's not videography, okay? Wow, I feel like I'm working right now. You want me to Photoshop something for you too? Coming up, it's Friday. It's a slow news day, so Adam and I are going to cartoonishly debate about James Harden. Who's for and who's against? I think we all know Adam's pro Harden. I'm going to act as the anti-Harden side. This show's been accused of this show's been accused of thirsting for Harden, which I don't think is fair. But
I'm sure somebody else called us Harden haters. So we're doing the right things. If people are hating on both sides, that means you're being objective.
Exactly. So coming up, we're gonna give some background. There was a big piece from Ramona Shelbourne that we'll talk about. But we do have some ads that help keep the lights on. So if those have been too loud for you, as they have been for some of the people who listen to this show, go ahead and turn it down. We got ads coming up and then Harden talk in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in Clips and Dips, Season 2, Episode 10, still to come. We'll unveil and we'll paint the picture of Kawhi Leonard.
We'll unveil the week-old picture.
I saw it from Farbod Essenshari first. I don't know if he was the one to originally post it, if it was Andrew Greif or somebody like that. But
I think it was the team. But
we'll talk about the KTLA schedule and what games you can see locally while using a digital antenna or whatever it is these days. I'm all streamed out, so I have no idea.
Streamed out.
But first, welcome to the hot seat.
We got to give some background though, because there was this a hit piece on James Harden, or was this just
by Ramona?
Background on the incident, because it was all very anti-Harden.
Can you give me some Cliff's notes? I didn't get a chance to read all of it, and what I did see, it felt like too much of a hit piece that I just rolled my eyes at, kind of like when Rachel Nichols was like, oh, he wants to be the #1 guy. Well, then why does he want to come to the Clippers? So you're doing a show and are on TV for the first time in a while and you want to make news. I get it.
Okay, wow. Seems like you have some deep-seated negativity.
We're going to debate Rachel Nichols next?
We're not. So he was apparently upset he wasn't an all-star alternate. He kind of threw a fit because he didn't get back to the league office in time. He
definitely had a case for it.
It was reported that before the Miami series, he took a separate plane because he was partying in Miami, but this was stuff that the team knew about and apparently was okay with. Other teams seemed confident, just let this whole thing stay a mess. And then after the report came out, he went to Instagram and he said, y'all got to chill with these reports. I'm going to start reporting shit. About 40 minutes or so after the article came out, there was one quote I wanted to bring up that James takes things very personally. Another source close to Harden said, when he feels like he's been wronged, he can be very stubborn. And I think that is a wonderful way to segue into this debate. Adam, you will be the pro-Harden debate. I will be the anti-Harden side. I'm wearing my debate glasses so people know that it's not normal me. It's debate Chuck. I cannot see anything because my glasses are prescription. Adam, go ahead. Why should we add? I kind of look like not a nice person in this camo hat and these glasses.
You look like you're about to fly an F-15 Eagle
straight into the wall.
Chuck Yeager over here.
So why should the Clippers?
Is it Chuck?
Make this trade? I think it is Chuck Yeager, right?
Well, you're Chuck either way.
Did he break the He broke the sound barrier in a plane.
What is that? Like 2,000 miles per hour? Mach 1?
Sure.
You see that little puff of smoke?
Yeah. Anyway, so you are the 4 James.
No, it's like 758 or something. Sorry, I'm getting pedantic.
I think it's faster than that. You are the 4 Harden side. I am anti-Harden. Okay. Take the floor first. What is your biggest point of adding James Harden?
Sure.
Go ahead. My biggest point about your propaganda.
My biggest argument. It's simple. Chuck Mockler is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Chuck Mockler is a liar,
my side.
And I will never be a part of an organization or a podcast that he's a part of. Okay. Look, Chuck.
Take a look around.
This team, as I mentioned earlier, desperately needs a floor raiser in the regular season.
Sure.
The last time a team that was outside of being a top 3 seed won the NBA championship was 1995.
No one's arguing that they don't need a floor raiser.
Clutch City. And they went through the Western Conference gauntlet and somehow pulled it off. But they also were the defending champs. They had that pedigree. Clippers don't exactly have that in their history currently. They have a couple guys who have won championships before, and one of the greatest players of all time at the highest level in a playoff series in Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
But you still have to get there. You can lose a championship, I believe, in the regular season by not having a strong enough record to make your path of least resistance throughout the playoffs a little bit more manageable. That's what they need.
I agree with that.
James Harden has been great in the regular season throughout his career. He's an MVP. He's a 10 times All-Star. He is a 3-time scoring leader. And he just last season, for the second time in his career, led the league in assists. And he has adjusted his game as he has gotten older and lost a step. Some of that burst to get by guys. Still has it at times when he needs it. Had multiple 40-point games in the second round against the Miami Heat or Boston Celtics this season.
One of those teams.
I think it was the Boston Celtics because they blew him out in that game 7.
What were the other games?
They were games that were played.
Sure. Okay. All right.
And James Harden has been inconsistent throughout his career in the playoffs. Again, let's start with worrying about walk before you run, walk before you ball, or crawl before you ball, I think is the phrase how it goes.
Crawl before you ball is that's a good phrase. That's
saw it on Shark Tank.
Keeper. Okay, never mind. Throw it out.
But this is a team that needs to figure out how to position themselves better so they're not taking on the Phoenix Suns in the first round. So therefore, if you have an easier opponent and you are missing one of your superstars, you could still get by in a series with James Harden, with Russell Westbrook, and one of Kawhi Leonard or Paul George if you have an easier matchup to start things off.
Sure. Are you finished with your opening arguments?
That was just my opening, but you can try to rebuff that bad boy.
So you're not wrong about what the Clippers need. They need a floor rate. They need everything you just said. Why does it have to be the guy who every place he's gone, things have been a nightmare at some point or the other? It's great, which on the court, James Harden, when he's engaged, I think he would be great for this Clippers team. Maybe. You know, he can take turns not showing up in the playoffs. Kawhi will carry us. I firmly believe that. So James can kind of do his thing and figure out when to show up, and Kawhi will be there to hold that up. That would be fantastic. But we're bringing James Harden into a situation where things are not easy, right? It's not like he's coming into a team that doesn't have to travel very much, that has a friendly schedule when it comes to back-to-backs and things like that, and has 2 stars that are going to play as much or near Joel Embiid numbers. We're bringing him to the complete opposite of that. And that thing that I said right before was things are going great until he feels wronged. What happens if he feels wronged? We could take everything that I think you just said and we could make it for the 76ers. We could make it for the Nets. All of their fan bases probably have a soundbite similar to what you just said. And it's the same thing. He doesn't want to play with the MVP. He doesn't want to play for Daryl Morey, which you could argue is a different argument, but the MVP is still on that team. And now we're bringing him into a situation where it's not like we hold stars super accountable, right? I think that's kind of fair to say. I do think Russ, as weird as this is going to sound coming from my mouth, Russ helps this Harden situation, I think, more than anybody, weirdly enough. But what happens when that runs out? What happens when things get tough? The penchant for it blowing up is there. And I haven't even gotten into the contract stuff yet, which we will I'm sure discuss at some point.
Well, I'll get into some of that
scary.
Here. Look, James Harden's back has never been closer up against the wall. This is someone who missed out on $161 million from the Brooklyn Nets, thinking he could get a better payday later on. Yes, things have soured with the Philadelphia 76ers, and they probably justified bringing in Harden before, saying, but it will be different with us. Well, if there's ever a team it'll be different with, it would be a Clippers team back in Southern California for him, where he wants to be and where he'll be on his best behavior because he wants to get paid by them this off season.
So the paid by the Clippers thing. So how many people are we paying in this off season?
As many as it takes.
We got, and after, so we're going to pay PG and Kawhi. We're already seemingly not going to give them the max. Or at least we're not going to give both of them the max. Yeah. That's fair. I should rephrase it. Everything out there right now, whether you believe the scuttlebutt or not, is saying that it's probably not going to be the max for both of them. We don't know who's going to get it, but it's not going to be 2 max contracts for Paul George and Kawhi. Where does that put Harden? So now we have to figure out 1 and a third max contracts for these guys.
Crawl before you ball. We got to see how this season goes first of all.
Oh man. But so here's another point. Training camp starts in less than a month. We got to get this thing done. Because if you really want it done, you would want it done quickly, right?
It would be ideal to have him in for training camp with the team he's going to be with all season long, then bringing him in midway through the year.
A lot less time for him to be left to his own devices, which I think some franchises fans have seen what happens.
The other side of that, though, is you're going to have to give up more to get him sooner, likely. So it's not that easy of a decision. And the Clippers have a more favorable schedule to start off the year. So I don't know if they're going to get into a desperate place where they're, 7-10.
Where they're 7 and test getting to a desperate place with this team.
Look, if they could bring him in today for the right price, I'm all for it. If your argument is you like him in a certain situation, which is getting him into training camp as fast as possible, that means you like James Harden on the team, I would say.
If you
take those glasses off.
They're staying on. I can't see anything. I might fall out of my chair. The precursor to the trade is what I'm worried about is already happening, basically, is that the team is kind of in limbo. Marcus Morris is still on the team. He doesn't want to be part of this team. He probably shouldn't be part of this team if they have actual championship aspirations, right?
Well, part of the reason he could be off this team is a trade including James Harden.
Sure, but for now, we're just floating around. We have no idea what team's going to show up at training camp, and it's all because of I'm not saying the 76ers organization is not to blame. I'm not trying to make that at all, but they decided to get into it with the most kind of messy of the superstars to get into it with. I personally hope that James Harden starts putting out his own reports. I think that would be great for my argument that he should maybe not come to this team. So I don't know. From behind these glasses, I'll tell you what, it seems like a bad idea, and it's just a powder keg potentially waiting to explode. Because if the Clippers don't win a championship next year, which a lot of people seem to think this is the final year to take a big swing, then I don't know. We have probably some disappointed. Instead of 2 disappointed stars, we have 3, and one of which we traded not insignificant assets to just leave.
If who cares? Like, the point is to get as close as you can to winning a championship this year.
Right.
I believe James Harden gets them
trade.
closer to that. If it was that easy, I think that trade would have already been done. If it was that easy to get Zach LaVine or Karl-Anthony Towns, who Will Updike would not want on his team.
Whoa. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying trade for Ken at all.
Easy, it would be done. The reason someone of his skill set, someone of his level of talent in James Harden is available is obvious. There is baggage. There are issues. There is a player who's disgruntled right now with the team he's under contract with. That's where the opportunity comes in, though, for a team like the Clippers. And I think you have to strike while the iron is still hot. Yeah, but we know how that can happen. We know the players that could be available and the picks that it could take to get him.
The players available are bad. Why would the 76ers?
The situation with the Philadelphia 76ers is getting worse and worse by the day, the closer that it gets to media day. And if he's there on media day, which he will be if he's on the team, because we know there's that weird stipulation in the CBA where they could have control of his rights and whether or not he could sign with another team when he becomes a free agent next summer, they could block all of that if they really wanted to drag this thing out and play hardball.
When is the 76ers media day? Do you have any idea?
They haven't given it out. They're waiting to see if James Harden is
I mean, honestly, probably. I think we're at an impasse because I'm not saying it's an easy trade. And we also don't know if they've explored the other options. That's the other part of this. The only information we have is all of the mess, which, I mean, can't argue with me on that point. All the info we have is kind of the mess right now.
It's going to be messy. In order to get a player this
I don't want it.
Something must have gone wrong in his last stop.
And that is part of the deal. And the stop before.
Hey, look, we're not talking about a team that just won the championship last year in the Clippers, and you don't want to upend things. You don't want to, fix what isn't broken.
Upheaval. We're in constant upheaval.
Do you want to add higher end talent? Do you want to get closer to a championship?
Yes.
Or do you want to get to the second round?
I do want to do that, but I don't think that James Harden's the only option.
Tell me the other options and how realistic they are.
I'm not getting into the realistic because right now I don't think James Harden's realistic. I think James Harden could just sit.
It's the most realistic option at the moment.
Okay, sure. It's the most realistic option. So
they've had discussions. It's still miles differently than any other team and any other star like Zach LaVine. They have an infinitely better chance of getting James Harden as things stand right now.
Because it is an unprecedented situation, which is what scares me off from the whole thing.
But people are acting like, and you may be acting like this too right now in this debate, like James Harden's going to ruin things. Ruin what?
I think he could.
The Clippers haven't won.
So here's what he could ruin. Think of all the things the Clippers not winning, and then think if it sucked even more.
I don't know how much worse it could get from the fan base standpoint with how disappointing last season was. I would think just bringing in somebody like James Harden would give them more hope going into this year. The majority of fans feel like that.
I do think, look, if the trade happens, there's no option but to root for it to happen. Like for it to work out. Like I'm not, anyone who's not going to do that, that's crazy.
Yes, if James Harden is on the Clippers, things still have to fall into place.
Sure.
They still have to have a little luck. That's usually what it takes to win a championship. But the difference is without him, I don't know if their ceiling is good enough to win a championship.
I'll agree with that.
You roll the dice to have an upgrade in talent.
If we go into next season with the same roster, I think people are going to be pretty upset, and rightfully so. But that's where I don't know. That's where the other swings come in. They wouldn't let me even in the front office. So if I worked there, I would do some digging on some other guys. But I don't know, man. We're going to see what happens. I will say trading, if we can somehow keep Terance Mann and that gives him more time, I don't know.
Look, I'll just put it like this.
Can I put my CN glasses on again? Or are we still debating?
Chuck Mockler is a liar.
The seeing glasses are on.
Let me tell you guys why. Look at this picture I found of him. You want to trust this guy with his takes on the Clippers? Look at how legit this picture of Chuck Mockler is, wearing a Lakers hat. Like,
No.
what is he about?
You don't even know how to Photoshop. Old man. Old man.
It's a translucent Lakers hat.
Yep, 1 of 1.
This is not AI. This is not.
Oh, I think they know it's not AI.
This is not Microsoft Paint. This is Charles Mockler wearing a Lakers Western Conference Finals hat.
You didn't even Photoshop a championship hat on me.
No, that's how hardcore you are. You're celebrating a Lakers run to the Western Conference Finals. I thought they only celebrated banners, Chuck.
See, this is why things are difficult. Adam Austin's a liar. It'll never work for an organization he works for. If you want to know what we're talking about, check out youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. That was a fun debate. I hope the people who think I don't know, whatever, we're gonna get James Harden, we're not gonna get James Harden, should we never talk about it until there's more news?
Until we can get somebody on from Philly, a mole, somebody on the inside, somebody who is embedded in the Sixers organization.
Until we can get a mole from Philly or actual James Harden to do a report, we're putting a moratorium on the Harden talk. Yeah. Because everyone's a baby out there.
Straight from the horse's beard.
Exactly. All right, moving on to KTLA. They're airing 15 Clippers games this year, including all 4 preseason games. Sick.
Pretty cool.
Clippers on local TV is always a good thing.
For the radio broadcast, but whatever.
Okay. No one wins. This guy. Hey, we're recording this at 5:35. If you run into Adam Osland after this on Friday, September 8th, around 5:45, he's been debating. He's fired up. Just let him go off. If you're going too slow in line, he's going to call you on it. NBA TV had a slate of classic Clippers games recently, and 4 of the 5 were just from last season.
Wasn't there a loss in there?
Yes.
Classic Clippers games. This is a loss, guys. That game against Sacramento that they scored 176 points.
What the fuck are people doing? Like, that's
not respecting.
Insane. It doesn't take that long to Google. Just goddamn.
Well, it does speak to how miserable of a season a lot of people felt like last year was, I guess. They really had to do some digging to find some great games because there were a lot of rough ones.
They had the upset in Golden State, and then they had 4 games from last year. I'm upset.
I don't love it.
You don't seem to care. You don't seem to care at all, Adam.
I do care. Were any of them Kawhi dominating and getting easy buckets when he was going through that scoring stretch after January 7th when
I don't
got back to regular minutes?
But those aren't classic Clippers games in the pantheon of Clippers games.
No, they just got lazy. They just started pulling from last season because it was easier.
And that's trash is what I'm saying.
It is. They made it seem like they didn't have a bunch of great games over the years and historic comebacks. Like, I don't know, the second biggest comeback in NBA history, down 35 in the regular season to Washington, and the biggest comeback in NBA history to the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. Did they show that one
too? I'm ready to go. God damn.
Maybe they didn't want to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know.
They don't want to see us shine. And then finally, Adam, you teased this. Do you Kawhi pick? He's not as bulky as last year. I was hyped on it. Shouldn't have been. That was my bad. Definitely not as huge as he was last year.
I don't know how to tell from these pictures. It's hard to see perspective-wise. It's not like he's holding up a newspaper and like, this was me 1 year ago, or you can actually see him next to the same.
I wish Kawhi did that. I wish Kawhi just in his stipulation was like, it's just every time.
I've always felt like it's been overhyped. Oh, Kawhi is hulked up or bulked up. We hear this every year before the season starts. And then eventually as the season goes on, he gets right back to where he was. Some are saying he looks huge, though. The Farbot Shari tweet,
they're not
saying Kawhi's looking huge. His chest hair is. There's more of that than ever. I'll give him that. A lot of strength there. I love it. He's not already laying in dirty work or anything like that, but he's got a lot of hair.
He's just trying to do a long came poly, everybody, in the low pose. For those of you who've seen it.
As long as he's not bricking shots like that, we ain't got to worry about it.
I think we're fine. Adam, wonderful to see. We're closing this one out. How have you been the last couple weeks? Nothing is going on.
Oh, I made my eye bleed.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It's looking better. I don't know if you can see. I gave myself the Terminator eye so I could be like Kawhi. I lifted too much in the gym. I don't know. I was lifting Buicks or something like that. I didn't realize it until I got home.
What'd you have on the bench? Like 125?
I wasn't even benching. I was doing like, I don't know, tricep pull downs on the pulley machine. Okay. I didn't think much of it. I was doing bridges because I saw Margot Robbie hit like 4 minutes on like the bridge where, you know, you're holding your abs.
You watched a 4-minute video of Margot Robbie doing
I would, but in this case, it was just her pointing to her time on a whiteboard and saying like, look at me, I can do this. And I was like,
believe that for
shit, if Margot Robbie can do 4 minutes, I should be able to get close to that. And I got 3:30. But that may have made my eye pop
Adam
out.
Austin, not as strong as Margot Robbie. That's the headline for this episode.
Chuck Mockler is a liar.
You can't hold the bridge. She's got you by half a minute.
No one goes just off of core body ab strength. Come on now.
I don't know.
I inclined 205 earlier. That was pretty good.
Okay, so your eye, you've exploded your eye. What? Okay, I don't think the people want to know anything else if this is what you're introing with.
Well, what about you, Chuck? What are the adventures or misadventures of Chuck Mockler?
Got sick over Labor Day weekend. That was awesome. Had to cancel a barbecue. That felt great. No, man, I'm hanging out, enjoying the heat, I guess. Wearing jeans every day, just making myself suffer.
Heat of that James Harden debate.
Dude, I'm fired up. I'm ready. I'm fired up.
Sweating bullets.
No, I'm excited. I just want Clippers basketball back. Excited for training camp to be back. I
am too. It's so close now.
It's a slow fucking off season right now.
It's been rough. Like
we thought we traded Marcus Morris. That didn't happen.
No, I thought Malcolm Brogdon was on the team. We did an entire impromptu podcast about it. It looked like horses' asses afterwards.
Hey, but you know.
When do we not?
Well, I'll tell you, I can do a longer bridge than Margot Robbie, so that makes one of us.
For real?
So
you can go over 4 minutes?
I don't even know what a bridge is, but sure, I can go over 4 minutes.
You know, it's like
the confidence is what you do it. Wait, so you're
laying down prone on your forearms and the toes of your feet.
Oh, a plank.
A bridge.
Talking a plank, not a bridge.
There's multiple names for it.
Do you even work out? You ever been in the damn gym?
Do you even lift, bro?
Yeah, do you?
You even Margot Robbie on bridges and
planking? I don't know. I probably got 6.5 minutes on a plank.
Really?
I got 25. I got 25 minutes on a plank.
Yeah, this is cap.
Okay, don't ever say cap again. All right, we're gonna be back next week. Will should be back. He's in the wilds of eastern Montana right now.
God, you guys just always get drawn back to the homeland like that.
You know,
you miss the animals or the desolate. I don't even know.
Well, his side's the desolate side. I'm from the side with actual mountains, which is good.
Is Yellowstone in some of Montana?
Very, very, very small part of it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
We still got some.
Yeah.
Take what you can get.
Yeah. We're going to be back next week. Send us some reviews on Apple Tunescast. We would appreciate it. Check us out on YouTube at Clippers Podcast. We had a live stream with Carl Tart last time. It was a lot of fun. Adam, anything positive you want to send these Clippers fans out on?
Can't wait for the season, guys. Let's hope James Harden and Terance Mann can be on the court together, because that could be a lethal combination, as we have outlined in today's show. Have we not?
Sure. As always, we'll see you next week, and let's go Clips.